It wouldn't quite be fair to say that this 2027 Volvo EX60 is a mulligan, but considering the EX90 is no longer sold in Canada because of the tariff situation between us and the US, it sort of is. And quite honestly, we are the ones benefiting the most because the EX90 always felt sort of unfinished, like it wasn't ready for the market. There were a lot of issues that stemmed from incomplete components, systems that weren't ready, but the vehicle was on sale anyways. And it was always a bit of a sticking point, especially for me, because I like to put myself in a potential buyer's shoes. And why would you buy something, especially at that price point, that felt incomplete? And I have to say right out of the gate, this slightly smaller EX60 definitely feels at least closer to a finished product, although we'll get to some of those issues in just a little bit. Now, right out of the gate, I should say that this one I'm driving is the P6, which is the rear-wheel drive version of this EX60 that we are not getting in Canada, at least not at launch. You never know what's going to happen down the road, but for now, we are launching with the dual-motor P10. There's also a P12 that's going to come later on that's going to be even more powerful than this one, that makes 503 horsepower and 524 pound-feet of torque, which is plenty. Now, the reason the P12 isn't going to be sold in North America at launch is apparently because of European demand. It is just so strong that Volvo has decided to focus on the European market, which makes a lot of sense considering the hesitancy towards electrification in North America right now. So focus on the market where the vehicle is going to sell. But this P10, as it sits, is pretty damn good. So is the range. Officially, it's supposed to be good for 514 kilometers, which I think is more than enough. But this morning we were driving around outside of Barcelona here. We did about 105 kilometers and we still had a 470 kilometer estimated range remaining, and that was on the conservative end. If we switched it into range mode, which optimizes all the systems, it said that we could do another 580 kilometers, which is just insane. Now, ultimately, it is up to the consumer to decide what works and what doesn't, but I really think those are the kind of numbers that you need to convert those who are feeling a little bit hesitant towards electrification. If you could say, hey, you're going to drive close to 600 kilometers between charges, it's less to worry about, and that range anxiety all but disappears. So it's nice to see Volvo doing it. BMW as well, with the iX3 that's on its way, is good for, I don't know, 700 kilometers on a full charge. That is the technology we need to see. And as we're expecting Chinese EVs to hit our market very soon, legacy automakers, yes, even ones like Volvo that are owned by Chinese companies, well, they do need to step their games up. And this is proof that Volvo is capable with a vehicle that it says is developed entirely in-house, not with any help from its parent company. This is a product of Gothenburg. It is even built in Sweden. So Volvo says this is entirely Volvo. And I'm telling you, it certainly looks and feels like it from inside. The EX60 is launching with two trims in Canada, the Plus that starts at $77,500, and then there is the Ultra that's $84 grand. Yes, those are big numbers. Another big number to consider is the freight charge that is a whopping $3,100. And don't forget, there are options and extras that you can add to it as well. But here's something else to consider. The XC60 plug-in hybrid. There is a Polestar engineered version that is more expensive than this one by something like 12,000 bucks. I think it's 96 grand. So Volvo has positioned this thing very competitively within its own lineup, which I think is a very smart play because it adds some serious appeal. If you're thinking with your wallet, it's hard not to think that this is a good idea, especially if you're kind of considering electrification. With this kind of range, with this kind of performance, overall comfort, the styling, I really think this is a home run. And hey, one big bonus, there isn't that London cab bump on the roof like you got with the EX90 or the ES90. It's nice to see that stuff tucked behind the windshield instead. All right, now that we get up to speed on the highway here, I do want to talk about comfort and smoothness. Yes, EVs are quiet and smooth. That's sort of the calling cards that you can expect from just about any one of them, but this is very nice. And this one I'm driving does not have the adaptable suspension that the P10 the Ultra version that we were driving earlier has, so I am very impressed with how composed this feels out here, whether on the highway or on some of these winding roads. Now, this does ride on the Gen 3 of Volvo's scalable architecture. It's more refined than ever, and it's also that the battery is part of the structure. That makes it feel more solid. There's less of that low-down heft that you can feel when the battery pack in some of newer EVs becomes very noticeable. This is certainly less so the case, although you can still feel that very low center of gravity. That battery itself, 95 kilowatt hours, 92 usable. Like I said, 514 kilometers of range with the P10. Charging 370 kilowatts, that is the maximum speed. Volvo says 10 to 80% charging should take about 18 minutes, although that is in ideal conditions. And don't forget, we don't have a ton of chargers in Canada just yet that are capable of that 400 kilowatt speed. That means this thing can max out. So you're probably going to hook up to a 350 kilowatt or maybe a 150. So that's something to consider, but it means that you should probably be able to do that jump in about 30 minutes in a nice summertime day. All right, so like I promised you guys earlier, there are some issues here that are in the same state that they were with the EX90. Features that are yet to come, and Volvo says they're going to be part of over-the-air updates. One of them is this button here on the steering wheel that's supposed to be a favorite button that you can choose whatever programmable feature you want and call it up. Lots of brands offer this. Hyundai and Kia famously offer it. You can call up Apple CarPlay or Android Auto just by hitting that favorite button. This one, as of right now, only works for the speed limit recognition. If you hit this button, it turns it on, turns it off. There is no way to customize it. That is, again, one of those things. I understand this is a very complex vehicle. Volvo says, I don't know, it's the smartest vehicle that it's ever built. That's all fine. But the fact that it is still an unfinished product, I get that vehicles like this that are software defined, as automakers like to brag about, means that they can improve over time, but these are not improvements. These are fundamental features that are missing. Would you want to spend $84,000 before freight and tax on a vehicle to say, well, this feature isn't ready yet, or the voice assistant isn't fully featured yet, but Volvo says it's coming? I don't know. Obviously, that is up to you guys to decide, but if you are fine with it, this is a pretty fine example of the progress that is being made in the electric vehicle market. I'm very happy to see it, and if you're a fan of Volvo, I'm sure you are too.